So, how do you get website traffic in 2021? What's working right now? What is not working any longer that you need to stop doing? That's what we're going to be talking about in today's show. I'm going to teach you 3 of my favorite ways to drive traffic to your website in 2021. Let's get started. Hey, messengers, welcome to the Market Your Message Show. I'm your host, Jonathan Milligan, and author of the book, Your Message Matters: How to Rise Above the Noise and Get Paid for What You Know. And today I'm actually going to dive in and teach you some from chapter 15 in the book, all about connecting to your ideal audience. What are the best ways to connect with your audience, and how do you get eyeballs on your thing, whether it's a website, a podcast, a YouTube channel, whatever it is that you're trying to gain traffic towards? What's working and what should you do? Now, I've looked it up, and you could do this Google search sometime, put ways to get traffic to a website, and you'll find articles out there like 101 ways to get traffic, 82 ways, 90 ways. And honestly, it can be completely overwhelming because you see all of those things and you think, I got to do all this. I got to learn all these things. The truth is, you can actually narrow down all those different methods into 3 ways. There's really only 3 ways to drive website traffic to anything. And once you understand the pros and the cons of each, you have a better understanding of how this works. Then it makes it easier when it comes to implementing the techniques, because you'll know what does it take to work depending on the type of traffic source that it is, right? So here's what you're going to discover today. You're actually going to discover what you should stop doing. Basically, you need to stop doing what everybody else is doing, especially on social media, and do this thing instead. And I'll be getting into that. Why you should learn SEO for blogging and for YouTube specifically. It can also potentially work for podcasting. But I know for a lot of people, SEO is a big technical term that intimidates a lot of people. We're going to break it down today. And also, my little known secret on getting traffic from podcasts. In fact, I'm going to share with you something that's literally been working for me in the last 4 or 5 days to drive lots of sales in my business and much, much more. So we're going to dive into this today. And if you're over on listening on the podcast, you might want to jump over in the YouTube channel, because I'm going to be drawing out on my iPad. But each episode, I'm going to describe as thoroughly as I can. If you're listening, maybe you're in the car, maybe you're on a jog, maybe you're cleaning the house, no worries. You can always go jump at the YouTube channel and see what I'm drawing out. But you can go over there, just look up my name, Jonathan Milligan, and you will find the video that goes along with this episode. But also, maybe you're just like, you don't know where to start. You're just like, I don't even know what business to start. I keep hearing about people writing books and getting paid to coach and doing YouTube channels and making money with podcasts. But Jonathan, I don't know where to start. We've put together an all comprehensive guide. It's 9-page PDF called the Discover Your Message Blueprint. And this will help you discover your purpose, your people, and your passion. You'll have your message dialed in, and it's completely free. Just go to marketyourmessage.com/discover. Okay, let's jump into today's topic. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to teach the 3 types of traffic, and we're going to do like pros and cons of each, so you'll really understand how all of this works together. So I'm going to jump into my iPad so you can watch me kind of write out some of these. And I'm going to give you an illustration of each that I've been teaching and using. In fact, I use this illustration in my book in chapter 15. So first things first, the first way that you're going to drive traffic, one of my favorite methods, it still works today. Number 1 is what I call free traffic. Now, you might be like, duh, Jonathan, I already know this. Like, tell me something new. I want free traffic, but I have no idea how to get free traffic. Well, in the book, I go into more in depth, but there's three primary ways that I use free traffic to drive people to my website over and over again, all day long, every week for free. And those are search, social, and subscriber. Now, as I'm recording this, and I know some of you that are here live watching this, because I actually do live recordings of every episode of your message or the Market Your Message show. And one of the things that I do to drive traffic to anything I've got is subscriber traffic. Now, that's the first type. And I'll talk about, you might be saying, yeah, but I don't have a list. Well, an email list is subscriber traffic. This is free traffic that you control, that you can drive people toward it. And I'll talk about the pros and cons in just a second. Then there's social traffic. Now, this is traffic that you drive from, any social media outlets that are out there, whether that's a LinkedIn or Pinterest or Facebook. But here's the problem. The reason most people get no traction today is because all they're doing on their social media is posting their stuff. Like, you're just posting over and over again your business stuff. But here is what's working right now. What's working right now is for you as a content producer to share other parts of your life. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to share everything, but think about it. Why do people go to social media? Because they want to hear about the latest blog post or podcast? Not necessarily. What people go to social media is to learn about people, to see what people are up to. It's a social platform. And so one thing that's working right now is for you to pick a couple categories of your life, hobbies, interest outside of your business, and just post things that you're doing day to day. And what happens is you will start to become what's known as an attractive character, because people ultimately are going to follow you not just because you are good at your business thing. They're going to follow you because they like you as a person. They're going to buy you before they buy their products. And that's why you need to be willing to open up yourself a little bit and become more of an attractive character. Awesome. Also, let's talk about the other one, and that is search. Now, search is the two dominant players are Google for blog posts and potentially YouTube videos. And then second of all, it's YouTube itself. So Google is still the number one search engine that people are using. The number two search engine is YouTube. So understanding some SEO is important as well. So let's dive into some of these pros and cons. And by the way, you're probably wondering, Jonathan, what is this old-fashioned water pump doing here? Well, I like to use free traffic as an illustration. And I used to, when I went to my grandfather's property, he had a barn, and this was in Indiana, and he had an old-fashioned water pump. And literally with this old-fashioned water pump, I remember as a boy walking up to it, and I would push the handle up and down. And I don't know if you've ever seen one of those where it kind of, sucks the water up from the well in the ground. It's manual, and you have to pump the water pump handle manually to get the water to come up. And I remember I would pump that handle and nothing would happen. And my grandfather would be like, no, you got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. Keep doing it. And I remember my little arm was just worn out from pumping this handle, thinking it doesn't work. This thing's broken. And all of a sudden, that cool, refreshing water came out of that water pump. And then he told me, ease up on the handle, and now you can pump slowly because the water pressure had built up in that. That, my friend, is exactly what free traffic is. Most people don't have free traffic. I believe, because they just give up too soon. It's hard. And so let's go back into our iPad here and let's talk about some of the pros and cons of this free traffic. First of all, one of the pros is it is steady. Once you have it flowing, it happens over and over again. Now, I got my start blogging. That's how I started way back in 2009. And literally, I have had traffic that still comes every week from blog posts I wrote over 10 years ago. That is the power in blogging over time and staying with it. Because as you create these articles, they get ranked in Google. And if they're evergreen content, meaning they're not time bound, people will still get value from them and people will still find them. And we still see people finding my brand from blog posts that I wrote over 10 years ago. So it's steady. It's also recurring. Another pro, obviously free. You don't have to pay for this kind of traffic. You pay in time, but once it starts, you don't pay anymore for it. I rank right up there with some people who are paying advertisings on Google for the same keyword that I'm just right under them that I get for free every single day. So it can be free. And it works for any niche. It doesn't matter what your topic is, this free traffic can work for you. Now, what are some cons? Well, some cons are, like I've already mentioned, it takes time. So this is something that you have to just dedicate to. And once you know exactly what you need to do, it's going to take some time, especially for a new site. Google kind of watches a new site, doesn't exactly like open it up for people to rank yet. There's a known thing called the Google sandbox that your new website or your new blog lives in for a little while before Google starts to like release it and allow your stuff to begin ranking in Google. You have to learn SEO. Now, if you don't know what SEO is, it's an acronym. It stands for Search Engine Optimization. And truly, it can be overwhelming. It can get very technical. But the truth is, if you just focus on the top 20% of what's most important with SEO, it'll take care of 80% of your results. I found that to be true. And then, another downside, obviously, is you have to build a list first. Not necessarily for blogging or for YouTube, but if you're going to get that subscriber traffic, like I was talking about, like every time I do a live stream show, I send an email out to those who have requested notification of my live show. And that's how some of you are watching this live right now here with me, because I sent out an email. That's traffic that I control. So that's the first source, is free traffic. Well, what's source number 2? All right, so source number 2 is paid traffic. Now, there's a lot of applications of paid traffic these days. Some of that would be Facebook ads, YouTube video ads, Pinterest promoted pins, Twitter ads, LinkedIn ads. There's all kinds out there. And there are some pros and cons to it. Now, what is the illustration that I have for paid ads? It's this. A water faucet. Think about a water faucet either on the side of your house or in your kitchen. It's pretty simple, right? When you want water, what do? You turn it on. When you're done with water, what do? You turn it off. What do you not do with water in your home? Leave it running all the time. Why not? Because you're paying for that water, right? We don't just leave water running all the time. And that is what paid traffic is. So let's talk about some pros and cons with this concept of paid traffic like a water faucet. One pro is it's fast. You could right now turn on an ad literally the next hour from listening to this, and have people coming to your website, your blog post right now, today. So you literally, if you need traffic, go to the traffic store and buy some traffic. And you can be very targeted as to what that traffic is. Another pro is you can turn this on or off. You can decide how much you want to spend. You can say, I only want to spend $10 a day. I've got some ads that I've had running for a quiz that I have for the last 6 months. And some of those, I'm just running $10 a day on those ads. And we're getting anywhere between, I would say, 75 and 100 new email subscribers every week from each subset of those ads, because it's just something we're running for $10 a day. So pro is you can turn this on or off. And another pro is you can get leads and sales today. So literally, Facebook ads allows us to put our message right in front of our ideal customer. And you could pick up some subscribers today. I probably, right now, as I'm recording this, people are getting on my list from Facebook ads I'm running because I have them up and running. Now, just because I shared those pros of fast, you can turn it on or off, you can control the budget, you can get leads and sales today, doesn't mean that there's not a downside. There are some cons to this. Here's a con that a lot of people talk about is, Jonathan, it's just expensive. Like, I just don't have money for that. Now, you need to shift a little bit of your mindset towards this is not a cost, but an investment, especially if you are getting leads. I see it as these are new leads coming into my world that in the future may buy something for me. They may buy something now, but they may not. So it's an investment opportunity. But it's still, for a lot of people, it does cost money to run ads. Another one is you probably are going to need to learn what's known as copywriting. I'm just going to write copy for short. But copywriting is the art of persuasive writing. So you've got to learn to how do you create an ad that stops the scroll and gets somebody interested in your ad, right? You may have to hire an agency. If you don't know how to actually run a Facebook ad or get into the Facebook ads manager and set something up, you may have to hire an agency on top of the ads that you spend to get everything up and running. Or you have to just learn the ad platform, right? You have to actually like roll up your sleeves, get in there and learn that ad platform so that you know actually how to set up an ad to make sure you're setting up the right kind of ad. So you can see here, there's pros and cons, but paid traffic is something that you can absolutely do in your business and start getting traffic today to the things that you're working on. All right, number 3, let's jump into this third type of free traffic. And the image or icon we're using here is a water cooler. Think of a water cooler with lots of cold drinks in it. It's the party, right? Whenever I think of a water cooler that's got, Coke and soda and water or whatever it's in there, that represents a party's going on. Somebody's grilling out, friends are over, and that is why number 3 is what I call partner traffic. Now, partner traffic is where you connect with somebody else who already has gathered together the audience you're looking for. Somebody else has already gathered together the people you are looking for. Now, in my book in chapter 15, I give a bunch of different illustrations of this, and there's a lot of applications here. But the one that I'm just going to focus on a little bit is, well, I'm going to show you an example in just a second. Let me get into some of the pros and cons. So basically, you are reaching out to somebody who already has an email list or already has a large social media following or large amount of listeners on their podcast or a big amount of subscribers to their YouTube channel. And you are looking for ways to partner with them. So here are some pros. Some pros to this strategy is, first of all, it can be very targeted traffic, because you can know exactly the type of audience that this person attracts. So, for example, a friend of mine, Chad Allen, he runs a full-time business now. He used to be in the book publishing business. He has a lot of aspiring writers who follow him. So when I partner with Chad, I know who his audience is. Like, I just need to bring something of value to people who are looking to write a book, right? Another pro is it's not expensive. So you do not have to bring a bunch of money to partner with somebody. It's typically done for free. In some situations, you are if you're going to offer something to sell to that audience, in exchange, you're going to give up some of the revenue back to them. So let's say you have a course that's $500, and let's use the example of Chad Allen. Let's say I have a course on how to build your email list to your first 1,000 subscribers. It's $500. And for every course that I sell to Chad's audience, he gets $250 of that. So it did cost me something, but it doesn't cost me money up front. So the truth is, it's not really that expensive. But the other thing I like is that it is immediate. In other words, this strategy kind of combines 1 and 2 a little bit. It's something that's free, but it's also can be immediate. And so it kind of bridges the gap between the two. But there are some cons here, and let's talk about these. What are some cons of this partner traffic? Well, one of the cons is you have to network. You have to be willing to reach out to people. Now, depending on your personality, that might be difficult. I'm an introvert, but what I've done is I've found ways that that make me feel more natural of reaching out to people so that I can connect with them in a more natural way. But you're going to have to be willing to like put yourself out there a little bit and reach out to people and see if you can connect with them and learn more about their business. And in that, you have to be willing to build relationships. Now, you don't have to have relationships like you got to become buddy buddy before they'll actually introduce you to their audience. Now, an example that I'm going to show you in just a second is getting on podcast. Like if you can go literally go buy a $40 microphone, start reaching out to people who have podcasts in your niche and build traffic that way. And I'm going to show you an example of one that that's worked for me here just in the last couple of days. And then finally, you have to be able to create value. Now, you might be like, well, why is that a con? Well, the con is you need to become somewhat known for something. Not that you have to be famous, but you have to know the value you can bring. So if you're going to be on a podcast, what is the angle? What is the thing that you talk about? What is the topic? Have you like dialed that in so that it makes it easier for someone to say, oh yeah, I'd love to have somebody come and talk about this topic to my audience. You need to know what that is. If you're going to do a webinar with a potential partner, you more than likely probably have to have a course, an online course that you've put together so you can sell something and share revenue with that potential partner. All right, so I'm going to give you a real practical example on number 3, something that has literally been working for me this year. As many of you know, I have recently published a book, and here's the hidden little secret that most book authors never do, is they write a book, they publish a book, and then they move on and they stop talking about it. Well, not this guy. I am dedicated over the next 2 to 5 years, at least until I write another book, to be talking about this book, Your Message Matters. One of the ways I'm doing that is I am actively getting out on podcasts to be interviewed about my book. Even though my book was published about 5 or 6 months ago, doesn't mean that it's no longer a new book. Books are new for a very long time. You can talk about your new book for over a year probably and still get on podcast. And so recently, I reached out to Dan Miller, and Dan Miller has a popular podcast called 48 Days to the Work You Love. And so a lot of the people that follow him are looking for something entrepreneurial to start. They want to do something creative, something different. Well, I hopped on the podcast, he interviewed me, and it just went live last Thursday. So it's not even been a week. And I want to jump back to the iPad just to show you this. I grabbed a screenshot inside of my Gmail account. And I know this is super small if you're looking at it on the video, but here's what this means. Basically, what this means is in the last 5 or 6 days, I have sold 45 plus books from that one podcast interview. So I gave 30 minutes of my time. I've sold 45 books. And by the way, inside of this is a funnel. And inside the funnel, we have upsells of some of our other courses. So we've not only sold just books, but we've sold $47 courses, $97 courses. And all of this right here has come in from one podcast interview. Now, think about this. I reached out. He said yes. He had me on his podcast. Well, actually, he interviewed me on Zoom for 30 minutes. And that was it. That's all I had to do. Then he gave it to his editors. They edited it. They uploaded it to their podcast hosting. He promoted it to his audience, right? I didn't do anything else other than show up and do the interview. And this is just from one podcast. This right here, this strategy is something that I'm actively using. I've got some more podcasts coming out very soon. Another one coming out on Entrepreneur on Fire with John Lee Dumas and others. And this is the strategy that I'm using to drive traffic, leads, and sales into my business using a book. So if you like that tip, let me know. I hope that you did. All right. So those are the 3 ways to drive traffic today. And you've talked about and learned the pros and cons of each. There's free traffic, there's paid traffic, and there's partner traffic. All traffic sources fall underneath those 3. If you want more information, you can go grab a copy of my book, Your Message Matters. And we go into way more in depth in chapter 15 on all of these strategies to help you get more traffic to your website. Also, if you still don't know where to start, don't forget about that guide. This is your guide to figure out what business you should start in the first place. It's called the Discover Your Message Blueprint. Just go to marketyourmessage.com/discover. And also, what episodes or what topics would you like for me to cover in future episodes? Let me know. And take a moment right now and hit like, share, subscribe, or even review our show so we know if this has been helpful to you. If so, we'll keep kind of creating more videos and podcasts on this topic. All right. Well, until then, never forget, your message matters.